Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. And in this video we're going to look at biology 2023 paper 2. So if you're watching for the first time, remember to support, subscribe, and also like this video. Okay, so we have some of the questions that we want to answer, and the questions is about genetics. Okay, so genetics comes every year, and this is what you're trying to do to just help you so that you're able to pass your exams. So now the question says, define the following terms. The first one is a recessive allele. The second one is phenotype. Okay, so what is a recessive allele? So one of the things that you need to understand is a recessive allele. First of all, a recessive is a kind of a gene, okay, that is always suppressed, okay, in the physical appearance, okay. And then now, what is an allele? Okay, an allele so this is just an alternative, okay, alternative form okay. So when you're talking about an allele, you're simply saying that this is just an alternative form of a gene. Okay. So now altogether, how do you define a recessive allele? Okay. Okay. So this is how we define a recessive allele. So it is just a type of a gene, okay, that cannot be expressed in the form of heterozygous, okay. So what we mean by heterozygous is that, for example, if I want to understand what a gene in terms of, height, tall or short, how that looks like. So that can be expressed in what we call an allele. So for example, for a tall person, so we have, let's say, capital T, capital T, capital T. Now this means that the capital letter T is called a dominant gene. Now this is pure torpacin, okay, this is pure torpacin. Now if I say capital T, small t, so capital T, small t. So a capital letter represents a dominant gene and a small letter represents a recessive gene. Now, this kind of a representation is actually what we call allele. Okay, so these are alleles that are representing the gene for tallness or shortness. Now, you have just actually seen that we have put what is called heterozygous. Now, heterozygous means that you have two different kinds of alleles. So where the one is a dominant, the other one is recessive. So a recessive gene is always represented in a small letter, and the dominant is always represented in a capital letter. So when you have something what you are calling heterozygous, okay, kind of a form, it simply means that you have a recessive, okay, gene that cannot be expressed, okay. It is always suppressed because of a capital letter. Is always suppressed, meaning it is more like doesn't exist, okay. So be able to share more about that. So that is just additional information about recessive alleles. Now let's go to what is called a phenotype. Okay, so now what is a phenotype? Okay. So when you're looking at a phenotype, we are simply saying that a phenotype is simply an outward appearance of an organism or individual. So when you look at your friend, when you look at any living organism, okay, be it an animal or just a human being, what you can see, okay, in terms of their hair color, maybe the color of their eyes, and the skin color and everything. So as long as it is an outward appearance of that particular individual or organism, that's what we call a phenotype. Okay, so you have also to understand that you also have a genotype, which is just the genetic makeup of those things that you are able to see on the outside of that individual or person. So okay, so now a phenotype is just the outward appearance of an organism. So that is just the definition of that. Okay, so the outward appearance of an organism. Okay. Okay, so now our last video is going to be about a genetic diagram, and this is about blood groups. Okay. So now what we have is that this is now the all information about blood group. Okay. So I hope you guys can see. Let me just zoom out. Okay, so now I'm just going to read the question, but this is a 2023 internal grade 12. So obviously, if you have a past paper, you can actually check out the actual question. That is question 5B. Okay, so now what you're saying is Jane has blood group O and as a child of blood group B. So she accuses John of blood group AB to be the father of her child. With the help of a genetic diagram, determine the possible offspring to conclude whether or not John could be the father. Okay, so this is a scenario where somebody is actually impregnated and John is now being accused as somebody to be the father of that child. So now we have to use the genetic diagram to conclude, okay, whether or not John is the possible father based on what you have been given. That is the information. Okay. So now the most important thing to understand is that when you're looking at genetic diagram, and this is in relation to blood, okay, so make sure that these alleles, okay, they are like this. For example, somebody in blood group AB, so this is how you can represent this, okay. Now we know that this is for John, and for now Jane, we have, it is just, now Jane is in blood group O, okay? And now the daughter, or rather the daughter, yeah, is in blood, she's in blood group what? Blood group B. So if somebody is in blood group B, okay, they could be in this form, or okay. So if somebody is in blood group B, so these are the alternative outcomes or the possible outcomes. So we have BB or BO. And the other thing that we're supposed to understand is blood group O is what we call the universal blood, kind of a blood, because it is able to donate blood to any other blood types. Okay, so that is our information. Okay, so now the thing that you do is you have what is called so we always start with parents. So we have these parents is okay. So we have father and mother. Okay. Okay, and then we are going to have what is called so now the phenotypes. So the phenotypes, the father is just say blood group AB, and then the mother is also she's group O. Okay, so group O, and then now the genotypes. So now we have to express this blood group AB in the using alleles. So this is going to be I, A, then I, B. And then this one is going to be okay. So these are the genotypes, okay? And then from there, now we are going to have what is called okay. So this part is what we call meiosis as well as fertilization. So either way is just correct, okay? So now we are going to now at this point now we are closing. So now you can see that at this point, because now meiosis is taking place, you just kind of separate them a bit because they are now ready for crossing over or for fertilization. And then from there, we do that. We put a cross to say we are now going to cross over. So what's going to happen now is we're going to have this. And this goes to that one. So we're going to have and then also now this one goes to that one, so this goes to that one. So we have, and then the other thing is this will go with this one, and then this with this one. Now, what you have is now the genetic diagram. Now, the question says that we have to, with the means or with the aid of this genetic diagram, we have to determine whether or not John could be, conclude whether John could be the father of this child. Okay, so now we have to be able, first of all, to come up with the blood groups, okay? Because they said that the child is in blood group B, okay? So one of the result, or from the result, you must be able to have group B, and that will tell us that indeed John was the father of the child. Now, this is what we call, this is F1, so F1 genotype. And then now we can have so phenotype, genotypes, and then okay. So now the phenotype is just for us to be able to come up with now the representation, as in what does this mean. So this is just blood group A, this is just blood group B, this is also, this one is B, and this one is just A. So now, from this result, we can now conclude to say that because of B, the presence of BB, okay, we now conclude to say, therefore, John, okay, or John is John is the father, okay. So based on these results, then we can say John is the father of this child, okay. So that's how we go about approaching this question under genetics. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to support, follow, and also subscribe for more information. Bye-bye until the next video.